What if everything you've been told about building wealth is completely backwards? What if the reason most people struggle financially isn't because they don't work hard enough, aren't smart enough, or lack the right opportunities, but because they've been deliberately kept in the dark about how money actually flows in this world? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Has this ever happened to you? You've tried every financial strategy, read countless books, followed expert advice, maybe even worked multiple jobs or started side businesses, yet somehow wealth always seems to slip through your fingers like sand. You watch others seemingly effortlessly attract opportunities, close deals, and build fortunes while you're grinding away with little to show for it. The frustration is real, and the question that haunts you is simple. What am I missing? Here's what might surprise you. There's a reason why certain financial knowledge isn't taught in schools, isn't advertised on television, and doesn't make headlines in mainstream media. It's not because this information doesn't work. It's precisely because it works so well that keeping it hidden serves those who already hold the keys to wealth and power. Think about it. If everyone understood the real mechanics of wealth attraction, if everyone knew that money responds to specific mental laws rather than just hard work and luck, what would happen to the current system of control and dependency? The truth is, your financial reality isn't primarily determined by external circumstances, market conditions, or even your level of education. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover challenges everything you thought you knew about money. Your mind operates like a broadcasting station, constantly transmitting signals into the universe, and these signals determine what flows back to you. Most people are unknowingly broadcasting scarcity, limitation, and struggle, then wondering why that's exactly what they receive in return. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful hoping. This is about understanding the precise frequency that wealth operates on and learning to align your mental state with that frequency. Just like tuning a radio to catch a clear signal, your consciousness needs to be calibrated to the exact wavelength of abundance. When static fills the airwaves, you can't hear the music clearly. When fear, doubt, and scarcity thinking fill your mind, you can't receive the opportunities and insights that are constantly being transmitted your way. The people who seem to have a magnetic relationship with money aren't necessarily smarter, more connected, or luckier than you. They've simply learned to tune their mental frequency to prosperity rather than struggle. They've discovered that the universe has laws governing wealth, creation that are as reliable as the law of gravity, and they've aligned themselves with these principles. What you're about to learn comes from sources that were never meant for mass consumption, knowledge that transforms ordinary people into wealth magnets. But here's the thing. Knowing this information is only the beginning. If this kind of deep content resonates with you, subscribe for more insights that actually shift how you think about money and success. The transformation happens the moment you realize your mind isn't just processing thoughts randomly, it's actively broadcasting them like a radio tower, sending signals across invisible frequencies. Every single thought you think, every belief you hold, every internal conversation you have with yourself is being transmitted outward, creating a magnetic field that either attracts or repels the very experiences you're trying to create in your life. Most people are walking around with their mental radio dial stuck on the scarcity station, completely unaware that they're broadcasting, "I don't have enough. I can't afford this. Money is hard to come by. I'm always struggling 24 hours a day." Then they wonder why their bank account reflects exactly what they've been unconsciously programming into the universe. The hidden truth is that your current financial situation isn't a reflection of your worth, your intelligence, or even your circumstances. It's a perfect mirror of the predominant mental frequency you've been operating on. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough, there's been a fundamental shift in mental programming that most people never see or understand. The person who suddenly starts attracting better opportunities, higher-paying clients, or unexpected windfalls hasn't necessarily changed their external actions dramatically. What's changed is the internal signal they're broadcasting. Instead of focusing on what's missing, they've learned to concentrate their mental energy on what's possible. This journey from scarcity to abundance thinking isn't about denying reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about recognizing that your mind has been trained to scan for limitations, obstacles, and reasons why things won't work, and consciously redirecting that same mental energy toward identifying opportunities, solutions, and pathways forward. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't afford this," the transformation begins when you shift to asking, "How can I create the means to afford this?" The difference seems subtle, but the impact on your subconscious programming is profound. Your brain is constantly creating mental images based on where you direct your attention, and these images become the blueprint for what you experience in the physical world. Most people create crystal clear mental pictures of their fears, their limitations, and their problems, then wonder why these things keep showing up with such consistency. The revelations come when you understand that the same mental mechanism that creates worry and anxiety can be deliberately redirected to create detailed images of prosperity and success. The people who seem to have a natural magnetism for wealth have learned to use their imagination not for catastrophizing about what might go wrong, but for constructing vivid, emotionally charged mental movies of what they want to create. They spend their mental energy building detailed internal experiences of financial freedom, successful ventures, and abundant lifestyles. Their minds become so familiar with these images that their subconscious begins treating them as memories of experiences that have already happened, which then influences their decisions, behavior, and ultimately their results. What makes this process so powerful is that your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between something you've vividly imagined and something you've actually experienced. When you consistently feed it clear, detailed mental images of prosperity, it begins to seek out people, circumstances, and opportunities that match those internal pictures. Your decision-making process automatically aligns with someone who already lives that reality, even before the external circumstances have fully materialized. Now, I want to go even deeper into this concept of mental programming, because understanding how to create these internal images with precision and emotional intensity is where the real transformation begins to accelerate. Write in the comments, "Ready for the next level," if you're starting to see how your own mental broadcasting might be affecting your financial reality. The precision required for this mental programming goes far beyond wishful thinking or casual daydreaming. There are 3 specific conditions that must be met for your mind to become a true wealth magnet, and most people unknowingly violate at least 2 of them every single day, which explains why their financial situation remains stuck in the same patterns year after year. The first condition is absolute clarity about what you want, and this is where most people immediately stumble. Saying, "I want more money," is like telling a GPS, "Take me somewhere nice." The system has no idea where to direct you. Your subconscious mind needs precise coordinates. How much money exactly? By what date? For what specific purpose? The hidden truth is that vague desires produce vague results, while laser-focused intentions create laser-focused outcomes. Your mind operates like a heat-seeking missile, but it can only hit targets that have been clearly defined and emotionally locked in. The second condition involves unwavering conviction, and this is where the real inner work begins. Conviction isn't hope, it isn't positive thinking, and it certainly isn't pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Conviction is the unshakable internal knowing that what you've clearly defined is already yours, even if the physical Evidence hasn't caught up yet. Most people sabotage themselves at this stage because they carry their conviction only until the first obstacle appears, then immediately start questioning whether their goals are realistic or achievable. The third condition is aligned action, and this is what separates the dreamers from the creators. You must begin making decisions and taking actions that reflect the wealthy person you already are internally. This doesn't mean spending money you don't have or making reckless choices. It means approaching opportunities, problems, and daily decisions from the perspective of someone who already lives at your target level of prosperity. Your behavior becomes the bridge between your inner transformation and your outer reality. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough, these three conditions were operating simultaneously, creating an internal environment where wealth attraction becomes inevitable rather than accidental. The journey from financial struggle to financial magnetism isn't about working harder or finding better strategies. It's about fundamentally changing how your mind processes and responds to money-related situations. True magnetism operates on a completely different principle than most people understand. A magnet doesn't chase after metal, frantically running around trying to convince pieces of iron to stick to it. The magnet simply exists in its natural state, and metal is drawn to it automatically because of what the magnet inherently is, not because of what it does. The revelations come when you realize that wealth attraction works exactly the same way. When you're operating from a place of financial desperation, constantly chasing opportunities, trying to convince people to work with you, or feeling anxious about money, you're actually repelling the very prosperity you're trying to create. Desperation carries a frequency that wealth instinctively moves away from, while confidence, certainty, and inner abundance create an energetic pull that opportunities naturally gravitate toward. The transformation happens when you stop asking, "How can I get money?" and start asking, "How can I become the type of person that money seeks out?" This shift in perspective changes everything about how you approach business relationships, investment decisions, career choices, and even daily financial habits. Instead of positioning yourself as someone who needs something from the world, you begin positioning yourself as someone who has something valuable to offer the world. The impact of this mindset shift extends far beyond just attracting more income. When you embody true financial magnetism, you start noticing that people treat you differently. Opportunities present themselves more frequently, and even seemingly unrelated areas of your life begin improving. Write in the comments, "I'm becoming magnetic," if you can feel how this shift in perspective might change your entire approach to creating wealth. Your mind operates exactly like a garden, and every single thought you allow to take root becomes a seed that will eventually produce a harvest in your external reality. Most people are completely unaware that they're unconsciously planting seeds of worry, doubt, and scarcity all day long, then wondering why their life keeps producing crops of stress, limitation, and financial struggle. The hidden truth is that your current circumstances are simply the mature plants that grew from seeds you planted months or years ago with your predominant thought patterns. Hit subscribe if you're ready for more real conversations about wealth building that go beyond surface-level advice. When you constantly think thoughts like, "I hope I can pay my bills this month," or "money is so hard to come by," or "I never have enough," you're essentially planting worry seeds in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. These seeds don't remain dormant. They germinate and grow into real-world experiences that match their energetic signature. The person who plants doubt and fear consistently finds themselves in situations that give them more reasons to doubt and fear, creating a self-reinforcing cycle that feels impossible to break. The transformation begins when you understand that you have complete control over what seeds you plant in your mental garden. Instead of unconsciously scattering thoughts of limitation, you can deliberately plant seeds of abundance, opportunity, and prosperity. When your dominant mental seeds become "money flows to me easily," or "opportunities seek me out," or "I create value wherever I go," your external world begins reshaping itself to match this new internal landscape. Behind the scenes of every major life transformation, there's been a deliberate gardening process where someone stopped tolerating weeds of negative thinking and started cultivating thoughts that aligned with their desired outcomes. The impact of this mental gardening extends far beyond just positive thinking. It's about recognizing that your thoughts are active forces that shape your decision-making, influence your behavior, and ultimately determine what you attract into your experience. The revelations come when you realize that wealth attraction isn't something that happens to you randomly or by accident. It follows a precise design that begins in the architecture of your mind. Your thoughts aren't just casual mental chatter, they're programming. Instructions being fed into the most sophisticated computer system ever created, your subconscious mind. This system takes whatever programming you give it and begins executing those instructions in your external reality through the choices you make, the opportunities you notice, and the actions you feel compelled to take. Most people are running outdated financial software in their minds, programs that were installed during childhood or times of stress and trauma, and they wonder why their results keep reflecting these old limiting patterns. The journey from financial struggle to financial success requires a complete software upgrade, deliberately installing new mental programs that align with prosperity rather than scarcity. This design process isn't about wishful thinking or hoping the universe will magically drop money in your lap. It's about understanding that your external reality is constantly being constructed by the internal blueprints you're running. When you change the blueprint, the construction project automatically changes direction. Your subconscious mind becomes like a general contractor that takes your mental designs and begins organizing all the resources, people, and circumstances necessary to build what you've specified. The precision of this process is remarkable once you understand how it works. Every decision you make, every opportunity you notice or ignore, every person you attract or repel is influenced by the programming running in the background of your mind. When you upgrade that programming to align with abundance and prosperity, you don't have to force or manipulate external circumstances. They begin shifting naturally to match your new internal reality. Now, I want to explore how this mental programming actually communicates with your subconscious mind, because understanding the specific language that creates lasting change is where most people either break through or get stuck in the same patterns indefinitely. Right. Programming activated. In the comments, if you're ready to discover the precise methods for uploading new wealth-building software into your mind. Your subconscious mind operates like a master sculptor working with invisible clay, and the mental images you consistently hold serve as the mold that determines what gets created in your physical reality. Most people don't realize they're constantly feeding their subconscious mind shapeless, unclear impressions of what they want, then wondering why. Their results lack definition and substance. The hidden truth is that vague mental pictures produce vague outcomes, while crystal-clear internal images create precise external manifestations. The thinking substance that surrounds us, call it consciousness, energy, or the field of infinite possibilities, doesn't respond to complaints, wishes, or abstract concepts. It responds exclusively to clear, defined mental images that are charged with genuine emotion. When you say, "I want to be successful," that's too abstract for your subconscious to work with. But when you create a detailed mental movie of yourself living in a specific home, driving a particular car, working with certain types of clients, feeling the satisfaction of financial security, now you've given your mind something concrete to build toward. This process goes far beyond casual daydreaming or wishful thinking. The transformation happens when you understand that every mental image you consistently hold becomes like a magnet, drawing circumstances, people, and opportunities that match its energetic signature. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough, there was a person who had been running very specific mental programs, consistently visualizing detailed scenes of their desired outcome, until those images became more familiar to their subconscious than their current circumstances. The revelations come when you realize that your mind doesn't distinguish between a memory of something that happened and a vividly imagined experience that feels completely real. When you engage all your senses in creating these internal experiences, seeing the colors, hearing the sounds, feeling the textures, even imagining the scents and tastes associated with your wealthy lifestyle, your subconscious begins treating these images as past experiences rather than future goals. This sensory richness is what separates powerful visualization from ineffective wishful thinking. Instead of just thinking about having more money, you create a complete sensory experience of walking into your ideal home, feeling the quality of the materials, smelling the fresh flowers on the counter, hearing the sound of your footsteps on the hardwood floors, seeing the view from your favorite window, feeling the comfortable weight of quality clothing, tasting the celebration dinner you're sharing with people you love. These sensory details give your subconscious mind the exact coordinates it needs to begin attracting matching experiences. The impact of this practice extends far beyond the visualization sessions themselves. When you've spent time creating vivid internal experiences of prosperity, your decision-making process automatically begins aligning with someone who already lives that reality. You start making choices about how you spend your time, what opportunities you pursue, and how you present yourself that reflect this internal shift. Your behavior becomes a bridge between the mental images you've been cultivating and the physical reality you're creating. The journey from financial struggle to financial magnetism requires this level of mental precision because your subconscious mind is always constructing something based on the dominant images you feed it. If you're not deliberately creating detailed scenes of prosperity, it will default to constructing experiences based on whatever images you're accidentally programming, usually scenes of worry, limitation, and struggle that you've been unconsciously rehearsing. Now I want to reveal the specific emotional component that transforms these mental images from mere fantasy into actual programming instructions, because understanding how to charge your visualizations with the right kind of feeling is what activates their magnetic properties and accelerates the manifestation process. Right? I can see it clearly in the comments. If you're beginning to understand how detailed mental imagery might be influencing your current reality, the emotional ingredient that transforms your mental images from wishful thinking into actual programming instructions is the combination of gratitude and absolute certainty. Most people approach their financial goals with a sense of longing or desperation, constantly reinforcing the gap between where they are and where they want to be. This emotional frequency actually works against you because it programs your subconscious mind with the feeling of not having rather than already possessing. The transformation happens when you shift from saying, "I would love to have this someday," to feeling genuine gratitude for what you're experiencing as if it's already yours. This isn't about pretending or denying your current circumstances. It's about training your emotional system to operate from the frequency of already having received what you desire. When you feel authentic appreciation for your visualized wealthy lifestyle, your subconscious begins treating it as a current reality rather than a distant fantasy. Behind the scenes of this emotional programming, something remarkable occurs in your decision-making process. The person who feels grateful for their visualized prosperity starts making daily choices that align with someone who already lives that reality. They invest differently, speak differently, carry themselves differently, and approach opportunities differently because their internal emotional state has shifted to match their desired external circumstances. The hidden truth about certainty is that it's not about eliminating all doubt or fear from your mind. It's about choosing to operate from conviction even when uncertainty exists. Certainty, in this context, means acting as if your financial goals are inevitable outcomes rather than distant possibilities. This emotional stance sends powerful programming signals to your subconscious mind, which then begins seeking evidence and opportunities that support this internal conviction. The journey from financial struggle to financial magnetism requires this level of emotional precision because your feelings are the language your subconscious mind understands most clearly. When your mental images are consistently bathed in gratitude and certainty, they become magnetic blueprints that your mind works tirelessly to manifest in your external experience. Think of this entire process like ordering a custom-tailored suit from a master craftsman. When you visit a tailor, you don't give vague instructions like, "Make me something nice." You provide exact measurements, specify the fabric, choose the color, detail the style, and describe precisely how you want the finished product to look and feel. The tailor takes these specifications and begins creating something that matches your exact requirements. Your subconscious mind operates exactly like this master tailor, taking the detailed specifications you provide through your mental images and emotional programming, then working behind the scenes to create experiences that match what you've ordered. The revelations come when you understand that consistency is absolutely crucial in this process. If you change your specifications every few days, one day visualizing a certain lifestyle, the next day doubting it's possible, then switching to a completely different goal, it's like telling the tailor to start over repeatedly. The impact of this inconsistency explains why so many people struggle to create lasting financial transformation. They plant seeds of prosperity one day, then uproot them with doubt the next day, never allowing anything to fully mature and manifest. The universe requires the same commitment to your mental specifications that any skilled craftsman requires to complete a masterpiece. Now, I want to explore how to maintain this emotional consistency even when external circumstances seem to contradict your internal programming, because learning to hold your vision steady, regardless of temporary appearances, is what separates those who achieve lasting wealth from those who get stuck in cycles of temporary progress followed by setbacks. Write, "I'm holding steady" in the comments if you can feel how this consistency might be the missing piece in your own financial transformation. The consistency required for this mental programming to take root and begin producing tangible results follows a specific timeline that most people abandon just before the breakthrough happens. Your subconscious mind needs approximately 21 days of consistent input to begin accepting new programming as its default operating system. This isn't arbitrary. It's the minimum time required for new neural pathways to form and stabilize in your brain, creating lasting transformation rather than temporary changes. During these crucial 3 weeks, the practice becomes your daily ritual of mental architecture. Every morning before your mind gets cluttered with external distractions, you create that vivid sensory experience of your wealthy lifestyle, feeling genuine gratitude for what you're experiencing as if it's already your reality. Every evening before sleep, when your subconscious mind is most receptive to new programming, you repeat this process, allowing these images and emotions to be the last thing your mind processes before entering the restoration phase where deep integration occurs. The hidden truth about this practice is that it's not just about the visualization sessions themselves. It's about how these sessions begin influencing your behavior throughout the day. When you've spent time each morning experiencing yourself as prosperous, confident, and financially secure, You automatically start making decisions from that identity rather than from your previous limitations. The way you handle business conversations, respond to opportunities, manage your money, and even carry yourself physically begins shifting to match the internal reality you've been cultivating. Behind the scenes of this transformation, something remarkable starts happening around day 10 to 14. The mental images you've been consistently feeding your subconscious begin creating what most people call coincidences, but which are actually the first signs that your mental programming is starting to influence your external reality. You might find yourself in the right place at exactly the right time to meet someone who becomes instrumental in your financial growth. A conversation you weren't planning to have leads to an unexpected opportunity. An idea suddenly occurs to you that opens up a completely new revenue stream. These synchronicities aren't random occurrences. They're your subconscious mind beginning to recognize and create connections that support the reality you've been programming. Your mind has been trained to notice opportunities, people, and circumstances that align with your visualized prosperity, while filtering out distractions that don't serve your new internal reality. The impact of this shift in awareness is profound because it means you're now operating with a completely different set of mental filters than you had before. The revelations come when you understand that what most people dismiss as luck or coincidence is actually the natural result of focused mental programming combined with aligned action. Your subconscious mind processes millions of pieces of information every day, and it uses your dominant mental images as a sorting mechanism to determine what deserves your conscious attention. When prosperity becomes your dominant internal experience, your mind begins highlighting prosperity-building opportunities that were always present but previously invisible to you. The journey from struggling with money to becoming a wealth magnet requires this level of mental discipline because consistency is what transforms occasional good luck into reliable patterns of abundance. Most people give up after a few days when they don't see immediate external changes, not understanding that the most important changes are happening at the subconscious level first, creating the internal foundation that will support lasting external transformation. Now, I want to explore the specific emotional frequencies that either accelerate or sabotage this entire process, because understanding how your feelings either amplify or cancel out your mental programming is what determines whether you experience breakthrough results or get stuck in cycles of temporary improvement followed by frustrating setbacks. Right, the timing is perfect in the comments if you're starting to notice how your own mental consistency might be affecting the opportunities and coincidences showing up in your life. The emotional component of wealth creation operates on a completely different level than most people understand, and this is where the real power lies, hidden behind all the mental imagery and visualization techniques. Your mental image is like planting a seed in fertile soil, but without the right emotional nourishment, that seed will never grow into the financial reality you're trying to create. Emotion is the water and sunlight that transforms a dormant mental picture into a living, breathing force that begins reshaping your external world. The intensity of your emotions determines whether your desires remain wishful thinking or become unstoppable forces of attraction. There's a fundamental difference between someone who casually thinks it would be nice to have more money and someone who feels a burning, almost desperate desire for financial transformation. The person with lukewarm wishes sends a weak signal into the universe, easily drowned out by stronger, more passionate intentions from other people. The person with burning desire sends a signal so powerful that it cuts through all interference and demands attention. Think of your mind as a radio station that's constantly broadcasting your deepest desires and fears to the universe around you. Every thought you think is being transmitted, but the volume of that transmission is determined entirely by the emotional intensity behind it. When you visualize your wealthy lifestyle without any real feeling behind it, your signal arrives at such a low volume that it barely registers in the field of infinite possibilities. You're essentially whispering your requests to a universe that responds primarily to passionate, emotionally charged communications. The transformation happens when you understand that emotion is not just a byproduct of your thoughts. It's the amplification system that makes your thoughts impossible to ignore. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough, there was someone who felt their desired outcome so intensely that their emotional state became magnetic. They didn't just think about prosperity. They lived in the emotional reality of already being prosperous. And that feeling became so strong that it started attracting matching circumstances automatically. The hidden truth about emotional intensity is that it fundamentally changes how your brain processes information and makes decisions. When you feel genuine excitement about your financial goals, your mind begins noticing opportunities that were always present but previously invisible. When you feel deep gratitude for the wealth you're creating, you start making choices from abundance rather than scarcity. When you feel confident about your ability to generate income, people sense that confidence and respond by wanting to do business with you. The revelations come when you realize that most people are broadcasting their fears and limitations with much more emotional intensity than their desires and possibilities. They feel genuine terror about running out of money, authentic anxiety about their financial security, and real frustration about their current circumstances. These emotions are so strong and consistent that they completely overpower any weak, occasional feelings they might have about wanting more prosperity. The journey from financial struggle to financial magnetism requires you to reverse this emotional emphasis completely. Instead of putting all your passionate feeling into what you don't want, you must learn to generate intense, sustained emotion around what you do want. This isn't about forcing fake positivity or pretending everything is perfect. It's about redirecting your most powerful emotional energy toward building the reality you desire rather than reinforcing the reality you want to escape. The impact of this emotional redirection extends far beyond just feeling better about money. When you consistently feel passionate about your financial goals, your entire energy field shifts. People notice something different about you. Opportunities seem to seek you out. Ideas flow more freely. Even your physical presence becomes more magnetic because you're operating from a place of emotional alignment with your desired outcome rather than emotional resistance to your current circumstances. Now, I want to explore how this emotional intensity can actually work against you if you're not careful about the specific feelings you're amplifying, because understanding the difference between emotions that attract wealth and emotions that repel it is crucial for avoiding the common traps that keep most people stuck. Write, "I feel the power" in the comments if you're starting to understand how the intensity of your emotions might be determining the strength of your financial magnetism. The ability to live emotionally in your desired reality before it physically manifests is perhaps the most sophisticated skill in wealth creation, and it's something you can train yourself to do regardless of your current circumstances. Most people wait until they see external changes before allowing themselves to feel successful, prosperous, or financially secure. This backwards approach keeps them trapped in cycles of limitation because they're always responding emotionally to what already exists rather than creating emotional states that attract what they want to exist. The transformation happens when you reverse this process completely and begin generating the emotions of financial success as a daily practice, independent of external validation. When you wake up each morning and consciously choose to feel grateful for your abundance, confident about your income-generating abilities, and Excited about your financial growth, you're programming your subconscious mind to seek out experiences that match these emotional states. Your mind becomes like a heat-seeking missile, automatically drawn toward opportunities, people, and circumstances that support the emotional reality you're consistently creating. Behind the scenes of this emotional training, something remarkable occurs in your decision-making process. The person who feels financially successful starts making choices from that emotional place rather than from fear or scarcity. They invest differently, negotiate differently, present themselves differently, and approach opportunities differently because their internal emotional compass is pointing toward prosperity rather than survival. This shift in decision-making often produces external changes much faster than people expect, because they're no longer sabotaging good opportunities with fear-based choices. The hidden truth about emotional amplification is that it works both ways, and this is where most people unknowingly sabotage their own wealth-building efforts. Emotion doesn't discriminate between positive and negative mental images. It simply amplifies whatever it accompanies. If your visualizations of wealth are consistently paired with anxiety about whether you deserve it, fear about whether it will last, or impatience about when it will arrive, you're actually programming your subconscious mind to create more experiences of anxiety, fear, and frustrated waiting. The revelations come when you understand that the universe, or more accurately, your subconscious filtering system, returns more of whatever you emotionally emphasize most consistently. If you spend 10 minutes visualizing prosperity, but 3 hours feeling anxious about your bills, your anxiety gets much more emotional emphasis than your prosperity visioning. Your mind interprets this emotional emphasis as instructions about what kind of experiences to seek out and create. This emotional amplification process explains why some people seem to attract financial problems, no matter how hard they work or how much they learn about money management. They're unknowingly putting their most intense emotions into worrying about financial problems, feeling frustrated about their current situation, or being anxious about their future security. These emotions are so strong and consistent that they overpower any positive feelings they might occasionally have about wealth or success. The journey from financial struggle to financial magnetism requires becoming incredibly conscious about which emotions you're feeding with your attention and energy. Most people are completely unconscious about this process, allowing their emotional states to be determined by external circumstances, rather than deliberately choosing emotions that support their desired outcomes. The impact of taking conscious control over your emotional states extends far beyond just feeling better. It fundamentally changes what you attract into your experience. The key is learning to catch yourself when you're about to amplify limiting emotions and consciously redirecting that emotional energy toward feelings that support your financial goals. This isn't about suppressing negative emotions or pretending problems don't exist. It's about being strategic about where you invest your most powerful emotional energy. Now, I want to explore the specific daily practices that successful wealth builders use to maintain emotional alignment with their goals, even when external circumstances seem to contradict their desires, because mastering this emotional consistency is what separates temporary financial improvements from lasting transformation. Write, "I choose my emotions" in the comments if you're beginning to see how your emotional emphasis might be determining what shows up in your financial experience. Protecting your emotional state from the constant bombardment of negativity that surrounds us requires the same level of intentionality that successful people use to protect their physical health. Most people allow their emotional diet to be determined by whatever happens to cross their path. The complaining coworker, the crisis-focused news cycle, the social media feed filled with outrage and frustration. They wonder why they feel drained, anxious, and pessimistic about their financial future, not realizing they're consuming emotional poison throughout the day. The transformation begins when you understand that your mind processes emotional input exactly like your body processes physical food. If you consume junk food constantly, your physical energy crashes and your health deteriorates. If you consume emotional junk constantly, negativity, fear-based news, complaints, drama, your emotional energy crashes and your ability to maintain the high-frequency states that attract wealth becomes nearly impossible. Behind the scenes of every person who maintains consistent financial magnetism, there's a carefully curated emotional environment. They've made conscious decisions about what content they consume, what conversations they engage in, and what energy they allow into their daily experience. This isn't about living in denial or avoiding all challenging information. It's about being strategic about when and how you expose yourself to negativity so it doesn't contaminate your wealth-building mindset. The hidden truth is that most people spend more time each day focused on problems, complaints, and limitations than they spend focused on solutions, opportunities, and possibilities. They absorb hours of content about economic crashes, job losses, and financial struggles, then spend 15 minutes on personal development and wonder why their mindset doesn't shift. The ratio is completely backwards for creating the emotional states that support wealth attraction. The revelations come when you realize that every piece of content you consume, every conversation you participate in, and every environment you spend time in is either adding to or subtracting from your financial magnetism. There's no neutral emotional input. Everything you allow into your awareness is either elevating your frequency or lowering it, strengthening your wealth mindset or weakening it. Gratitude operates as one of the most powerful frequency shifters available to you, and it works almost instantly to neutralize fear, scarcity, and limitation. When you feel anxiety about money creeping in, when scarcity thinking starts to dominate your mental space, when fear about your financial future begins taking over, gratitude can shift your entire emotional state within minutes. This isn't just positive thinking or feel-good philosophy. It's a practical tool for maintaining the emotional frequencies that support wealth creation. The journey from financial struggle to financial abundance requires treating gratitude as an emergency intervention system. The moment you catch yourself spiraling into worry about bills, frustration about your income, or anxiety about your financial security, you immediately redirect that emotional energy into appreciating what's already working in your life. This might seem simplistic, but the impact on your decision-making, opportunity recognition, and magnetic presence is profound. The practice becomes about building new emotional habits that automatically activate when limiting states arise. Instead of allowing fear to build momentum and create more fear-based experiences, you interrupt that pattern and consciously choose to amplify appreciation instead. This emotional redirection doesn't just make you feel better temporarily. It literally changes the kinds of opportunities and experiences you attract because you're operating from a completely different energetic frequency. Now, I want to explore how this emotional consistency translates into the specific actions and behaviors that bridge the gap between internal transformation and external financial results, because understanding how wealthy thinking naturally leads to wealth, building actions is where the practical magic happens. Write frequency locked in the comments if you can feel how protecting your emotional environment might be just as important as any business strategy or investment plan. The bridge between your internal emotional transformation and external financial results is built through what can only be described as inspired action, a completely different type of movement than the frantic, desperate activity that keeps most people busy but not prosperous. The difference between these two approaches to taking action is like the difference between a powerful river flowing naturally toward the ocean and someone frantically splashing around in shallow water, creating lots of noise and movement, but never actually getting anywhere. Inspired action emerges naturally when your mind is truly connected to your vision and operating from the emotional states we've been discussing. It doesn't feel forced, strained, or exhausting because it's aligned with the internal reality you've been cultivating. When you take action from this place, there's an almost effortless quality to your movement, even when the tasks themselves require significant effort or skill. You're not pushing against resistance. You're flowing with momentum that's been building in your subconscious mind. The transformation becomes visible when you start recognizing the three unmistakable characteristics that separate inspired action from the desperate scrambling that keeps people trapped in cycles of financial struggle. The first characteristic is perfect alignment with your ultimate goal. Every movement you make, every decision you take, every conversation you engage in points directly toward your vision of financial prosperity. There's no scattered energy, no random activities that don't serve your larger purpose. Your actions become laser-focused because your internal clarity has reached the point where you automatically filter out distractions and opportunities that don't align with your desired outcome. The second characteristic is that inspired action energizes you rather than draining you. When you're moving from authentic inspiration, even challenging tasks feel invigorating because you can sense how each step is bringing you closer to your goal. This is completely different from desperate action, which feels like dragging heavy chains behind you, leaving you exhausted and discouraged even when you're technically making progress. The hidden truth is that your energy level during action is a reliable indicator of whether you're operating from inspiration or desperation. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough, there's been someone taking action that created momentum through a chain reaction of opportunities. This is the third characteristic of inspired action. It sets off sequences of events that seem almost magical in their timing and coordination. One phone call leads to an introduction that opens up a business partnership that creates multiple revenue streams. One decision to attend an event results in meeting someone who becomes a key mentor, client, or collaborator. These aren't coincidences. They're the natural result of action taken from a place of internal alignment and emotional clarity. The revelations come when you understand that desperate action actually repels the very opportunities you're trying to create. When you're moving from fear, scarcity, or anxiety, people can sense that energy, and it makes them less likely to want to do business with you, recommend you, or support your endeavors. Desperate energy is clingy and needy, while inspired energy is magnetic and attractive. The impact of this energetic difference on your financial results is enormous, because business, at its core, is about relationships and trust. The journey from financial struggle to financial magnetism requires learning to distinguish between these two types of action in your own experience. Most people are so accustomed to operating from desperation that they don't even realize there's another way to move through the world. They think success requires grinding, forcing, and pushing through resistance, when actually the most successful people have learned to move with a different kind of power, the power that comes from internal alignment and authentic inspiration. Now, I want to explore how this inspired action naturally leads to what successful wealth builders call the multiplication effect, where single actions begin producing multiple results, and your efforts start compounding in ways that accelerate your financial growth exponentially. Write "I feel the flow" in the comments if you're starting to recognize the difference between desperate scrambling and truly inspired movement in your own financial journey. The relationship between your emotional programming and your physical actions operates exactly like an electrical circuit, where emotion provides the initial spark, but action supplies the continuous current that actually powers your transformation. Most people get caught in the trap of thinking that feeling good about their financial goals is enough to create change, spending months visualizing and affirming without ever taking the steps that would bridge their internal reality with external results. They have the spark of inspiration, the emotional charge of desire, but they never complete the circuit through decisive action. The hidden truth about manifestation is that the universe responds to movement, not just intention. When you take action, any action, aligned with your financial goals, you're essentially sending a signal that says, "I'm serious about this. I'm ready to receive what I've been asking for." This signal activates forces and circumstances that remain dormant as long as you stay in pure visualization mode. Action is what transforms potential energy into kinetic energy, possibility into probability, and dreams into measurable results. Behind the scenes of every major financial transformation, there's been a moment when someone moved from thinking and feeling into doing. The impact of this shift can't be overstated because action changes your identity at the deepest level. When you take steps toward wealth creation, you start seeing yourself as someone who builds wealth rather than someone who just dreams about it. This identity shift affects every subsequent decision you make, every opportunity you recognize, and every relationship you build. The revelations come when you understand that inspired action rarely looks like the grand, dramatic gestures that people imagine will be required for major financial breakthroughs. Most wealth-building action appears deceptively small and insignificant to outside observers. Sending an email to someone you've been meaning to contact, making a phone call you've been postponing, signing up for a course that caught your attention, reaching out for help from someone who has what you want to create. These seemingly minor actions often become the pivot points that completely redirect your financial trajectory. The journey from internal transformation to external results is paved with these small but decisive moments of action. One conversation leads to an introduction that opens up a business opportunity. One course provides a skill that becomes a new revenue stream. One email sent at the right moment to the right person creates a partnership that changes everything. The multiplication effect happens because small actions taken from a place of internal alignment tend to create ripple effects that extend far beyond what you could have predicted or planned. The transformation accelerates when you understand that the universe is always testing your commitment through these opportunities for small action. Will you send the message or put it off until tomorrow? Will you make the phone call or find an excuse to wait until conditions are perfect? Will you invest in yourself or decide you can't afford it right now? Each of these decisions either moves you closer to your financial goals or maintains the status quo, and the cumulative impact of these choices over time determines whether you experience breakthrough or stagnation. The magic happens when you realize that taking small, aligned actions consistently creates momentum that builds on itself. Each step you take makes the next step clearer and easier. Each decision you make from your wealthy identity strengthens that identity and makes future wealth-building decisions more natural. The compound effect of consistent small actions often produces results that seem disproportionate to the effort invested because you're working with the leverage of aligned intention rather than against the resistance of scattered energy. Now, I want to explore how this momentum-building process naturally leads to what successful people call unstoppable faith, the kind of unshakable conviction that makes wealth attraction inevitable rather than hopeful. Write, "Taking the step" in the comments if you can identify at least one small action you've been avoiding that might be the key to unlocking your next level of financial growth. The momentum-building process reveals something counterintuitive about human psychology that most people get completely backwards in their approach to wealth creation. They sit around waiting to feel motivated before they take action, believing that inspiration must come first and movement will naturally follow. This backwards thinking keeps them trapped in endless cycles of planning, preparing, and waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. The hidden truth is that successful people have discovered the secret of reverse engineering motivation. They move first and let the energy build through. The movement itself. When you take action before you feel completely ready, something remarkable happens in your brain, chemistry, and emotional state. Movement creates its own momentum, generating energy that wasn't there when you were sitting still. Each step you take, no matter how small, sends signals to your subconscious mind that you're serious about your financial transformation. These signals create a feedback loop where action generates results. Results build confidence. Confidence fuels faith, and faith propels even more decisive action. The transformation becomes self-sustaining once you understand that waiting for motivation is like waiting for the weather to be perfect before starting a garden. The people who create extraordinary wealth don't wait for ideal conditions. They begin planting seeds regardless of the current climate, knowing that their consistent action will eventually create the conditions they need for massive growth. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough, there's been someone who decided to move forward despite not feeling completely prepared or inspired. The journey from financial struggle to financial abundance requires recognizing that your environment is either accelerating your progress or acting like invisible brakes that keep you stuck in the same patterns. Most people dramatically underestimate how much their surroundings influence their thoughts, decisions, and ultimately their results. Your environment isn't just your physical space. It's the complete ecosystem of influences that surround you daily, including the people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, the information you consume, and the beliefs that float through your social and professional circles. Think of your environment like climate for a plant. You can have the most genetically superior seed with incredible potential, but if you plant it in poor soil, expose it to harsh weather, and surround it with weeds that compete for nutrients, that seed will struggle to grow, no matter how much effort you put into caring for it. Conversely, when you place even an average seed in rich soil with optimal sunlight, proper water, and protection from harmful elements, it naturally thrives and produces abundant fruit. The revelations come when you realize that most people are trying to create wealth while surrounded by environmental conditions that make financial success nearly impossible. They spend their days listening to people who complain about money, consuming media that focuses on economic problems, working in spaces that feel chaotic or depressing, and absorbing beliefs about money and success that were formed during times of scarcity or limitation. They wonder why their mindset work isn't producing results, not recognizing that their environment is constantly reprogramming them back to their old patterns. The impact of environmental optimization on your financial magnetism is often immediate and dramatic. When you begin curating your surroundings to support prosperity consciousness, when you seek out conversations with people who think bigger and bolder, when you design your physical space to reflect abundance rather than lack, your entire energy field shifts. You start making different choices because you're operating within a different context that naturally supports wealth-building decisions rather than survival-based choices. Now, I want to explore how this environmental curation naturally leads to what I call emotional discipline, the ability to maintain your wealth-building frequency even when external circumstances temporarily appear to contradict your internal vision. Right environment matters. In the comments, if you're starting to see how your current surroundings might be either supporting or sabotaging your financial transformation. The process of environmental optimization unfolds in three distinct phases that most people either approach haphazardly or skip entirely, wondering why their mindset work never seems to stick despite their best efforts. The first phase requires what can only be described as an energetic purge, consciously reducing your exposure to scarcity-minded conversations, complaint-filled social interactions, and physical spaces that reinforce limitation rather than possibility. This isn't about judging or abandoning people, but about strategically protecting your mental frequency from influences that consistently pull you back toward financial struggle thinking. The transformation begins when you start noticing how different people and environments affect your energy levels and decision-making capacity. Some conversations leave you feeling drained, pessimistic, and focused on problems, while others leave you energized, optimistic, and focused on solutions. Some physical spaces make you feel contracted and small, while others make you feel expanded and powerful. The hidden truth is that these energetic influences are constantly shaping your subconscious programming, either reinforcing your wealth-building identity or undermining it. Behind the scenes of this purging process, something remarkable happens to your decision-making quality. When you reduce exposure to limiting influences, your mind naturally begins gravitating toward more expansive thinking. You start noticing opportunities that were always present, but previously filtered out by the pessimistic programming you were unconsciously absorbing from your environment. The impact on your financial trajectory can be immediate because you're no longer fighting against constant environmental reprogramming. The second phase involves actively seeking out and surrounding yourself with elevating energy, people who think bigger, content that inspires action, environments that reinforce prosperity consciousness. This goes beyond just positive thinking or motivational content. It's about immersing yourself in the actual frequency of wealth creation through direct exposure to people who operate at the financial level you want to reach. Their casual conversations about money, business, and opportunity become your new normal, gradually rewiring your beliefs about what's possible and realistic. The revelations come when you understand that proximity to success is one of the fastest ways to accelerate your own transformation. When you're regularly exposed to people who treat wealth creation as natural and inevitable rather than difficult and unlikely, your own relationship with money begins shifting automatically. You absorb their assumptions, their decision-making patterns, their risk tolerance, and their opportunity recognition skills through osmosis rather than effort. The third phase involves deliberately designing your physical space as a prosperity magnet, organizing your environment to reinforce abundance rather than scarcity, surrounding yourself with visual reminders of your financial goals, creating spaces that feel expansive and prosperous, rather than cramped and limiting. This isn't about expensive decorating or showing off. It's about using your environment as a daily programming tool that keeps your subconscious aligned with wealth creation. The journey from environmental chaos to environmental optimization naturally leads to what separates those who achieve lasting financial success from those who get stuck in cycles of temporary progress followed by disappointing setbacks. This separation point is emotional discipline, the ability to maintain your wealth-building frequency even when external circumstances seem to contradict everything you've been programming internally. Markets crash, deals fall through, unexpected expenses arise, clients disappear. These are the moments when most people abandon their prosperity consciousness and default back to survival thinking. Emotional discipline operates like invisible armor that protects your wealth-building mindset from the inevitable challenges and setbacks that test everyone's commitment to their financial goals. The people who emerge from difficulties stronger and richer than before aren't lucky or more talented. They've developed the capacity to maintain strategic thinking when others succumb to emotional chaos, to see opportunities when others see only problems, to make decisions from abundance when others make decisions from fear. Now, I want to explore the specific internal practices that build this emotional discipline into an unshakable foundation. Because mastering your internal responses to external challenges is what transforms temporary financial improvements into permanent wealth-building momentum. Write "building my armor" in the comments if you can see how environmental optimization and emotional discipline might be the missing foundations in your own financial transformation. The foundation of unshakable emotional discipline rests on three internal practices that most people never develop because they're constantly reacting to circumstances rather than responding strategically. The first practice involves controlling your initial reaction to any financial challenge or setback, creating a crucial pause between what happens and how you respond. This pause is where your power lives, where creativity flourishes, and where wealth-building decisions get made instead of survival-based reactions. Most people hear bad news about their business, receive an unexpected bill, or lose a client, and immediately spiral into emotional chaos that clouds their judgment for days or weeks. The transformation happens when you learn to catch yourself in that first moment of impact and consciously choose to pause rather than react. In that pause, you maintain access to your strategic thinking, your creative problem-solving abilities, and your wealth-building identity instead of defaulting to fear-based decision-making that often makes situations worse. Behind the scenes of this pause practice, something remarkable occurs in your brain chemistry and decision-making capacity. When you don't immediately flood your system with stress hormones and panic responses, you remain connected to the parts of your mind that can actually solve problems and identify opportunities. The hidden truth is that many financial challenges contain hidden opportunities that are only visible when you're thinking clearly rather than reacting emotionally. The second pillar involves learning to separate facts from emotional interpretations, recognizing that problems are completely neutral until you add your own emotional meaning to them. A client canceling a contract is just a fact, a change in circumstances that requires a new action plan. Your interpretation that this means you're failing, that money is scarce, or that your business is doomed is what creates the emotional suffering and poor decision-making that follows. The journey from financial struggle to financial mastery requires developing the ability to see facts as facts and choose your emotional responses consciously rather than automatically. The revelations come when you understand that the same external event can be interpreted as either a devastating setback or a redirecting opportunity, depending entirely on the mental framework you choose to apply. The person who loses a major client and immediately starts exploring new markets, refining their services, or developing multiple income streams will have a completely different financial outcome than the person who loses a client and spirals into self-doubt and paralysis. The third pillar is perhaps the most crucial, maintaining a vision that's bigger than any temporary problem you're facing. When challenges arise, most people immediately forget why they started their wealth-building journey, allowing current difficulties to become more important than long-term goals. This shrinking of vision is what causes people to make desperate short-term decisions that sacrifice long-term prosperity for immediate relief. The impact of keeping your vision larger than your problems extends far beyond just maintaining motivation. When your ultimate financial goals remain your primary focus, even during difficult times, you make decisions that align with where you're going rather than where you currently are. This alignment is what allows temporary setbacks to become stepping stones rather than stopping points. This emotional discipline naturally leads to a deeper understanding of how your internal programming shapes your external reality. The process of autosuggestion operates like programming a sophisticated computer system where you consciously and repeatedly input the thoughts, beliefs, and expectations you want your subconscious mind to accept as truth and work toward manifesting in your experience. Your mind processes whatever information you feed it most consistently and begins organizing your decisions, behavior, and awareness to align with that programming. The transformation accelerates when you realize that most people are unconsciously programming themselves with limitation, scarcity, and struggle through their habitual thought patterns and self-talk. They wonder why their external circumstances remain stuck while they're unknowingly reinforcing the very patterns they want to change through their internal dialogue and assumptions. Now, I want to explore how this conscious programming process can be systematized into a daily practice that gradually rewrites your subconscious beliefs about money and success, because understanding the specific techniques that install new wealth-building software in your mind is where lasting transformation becomes inevitable. Write "I choose my programming" in the comments if you can see how your own habitual thoughts might be either supporting or sabotaging your financial goals. The relationship between your conscious and subconscious mind operates exactly like the command structure on a ship, where your conscious mind serves as the captain making decisions and giving orders, while your subconscious mind functions as the powerful engine that actually moves the vessel toward its destination. Most people spend all their time trying to change their financial results by working harder with their conscious mind, the captain, while completely ignoring the engine that's actually driving their experience. Your subconscious mind doesn't think, analyze, or question the orders it receives. It simply accepts whatever. Programming is delivered with sufficient repetition and emotional intensity, then works tirelessly to create external circumstances that match that internal programming. This is both the tremendous opportunity and the hidden danger in wealth creation, because your subconscious is always working to manifest something. Either the prosperity you consciously desire or the limitations you unconsciously reinforce through habitual thought patterns. The transformation begins when you understand that precision is absolutely crucial in this programming process. Your subconscious mind needs exact specifications to work effectively. Instead of vague instructions like, "I want more money," you must provide detailed coordinates like, "I earn $80,000 annually through my consulting business by December of next year." The more specific your programming, the more precisely your subconscious can organize circumstances, opportunities, and insights to support that outcome. Behind the scenes of effective autosuggestion, language becomes a powerful programming tool that most people use incorrectly. Your subconscious mind responds most powerfully to statements written and spoken in present tense, as if the desired outcome is already your current reality. "I have," "I am," and "I enjoy" carry much more programming power than "I will," "I hope," or "I want," because your subconscious interprets present tense language as instructions about what already exists rather than what might happen someday. The revelations come when you realize that emotional intensity is what determines whether your autosuggestion actually penetrates your subconscious programming or just bounces off the surface like ineffective positive thinking. You must feel genuine pride, peace, and satisfaction as you repeat your wealth-building statements, experiencing the emotions of already living that prosperous reality. Without this emotional component, you're just saying words that carry no real programming power. The journey from wishful thinking to effective programming requires understanding that timing plays a crucial role in how deeply your autosuggestion penetrates your subconscious mind. Your subconscious is most receptive during specific windows throughout the day, particularly in the morning before your conscious mind gets cluttered with daily concerns, in the evening as you're transitioning toward sleep, and during any quiet periods when your analytical mind relaxes its Filters. The impact of this systematic approach becomes visible when you maintain absolute consistency over time. Your subconscious mind requires repetition to accept new programming, and most people abandon the process just before it reaches the critical mass needed for lasting transformation. The hidden truth is that effective autosuggestion isn't about occasionally repeating affirmations when you remember. It's about installing new mental software through deliberate, consistent, daily practice that gradually overwrites old limiting programs. This programming process naturally evolves into what successful wealth builders recognize as the bridge between internal transformation and external manifestation. When your subconscious mind fully accepts your prosperity programming, it begins influencing your conscious decisions, your awareness of opportunities, and your behavior patterns in ways that automatically align with wealth creation rather than financial struggle. Now, I want to explore how this internal programming naturally expresses itself through what can only be described as inspired action. The specific type of movement that emerges when your conscious and subconscious minds are perfectly aligned around your financial goals. Write "programming installed" in the comments if you can feel how systematic autosuggestion might be the missing link between your wealth-building intentions and your actual financial results. The bridge between your perfectly programmed subconscious mind and your actual financial results is built through decisive action. And this is where most people's wealth-building journey either accelerates dramatically or stalls indefinitely. All the visualization, emotional programming, and mental conditioning you've been developing serves as your navigational equipment, essential tools for knowing where you're going and maintaining the right internal frequency. But these tools alone never moved anyone from one financial level to another. The transformation happens when you understand that inspired action feels completely different from the desperate scrambling that keeps most people busy but not prosperous. This type of action emerges naturally when your conscious intentions and your subconscious programming align perfectly, creating an internal knowing about what steps to take next. It's not forced or strained because it flows from genuine inner clarity rather than external pressure or fear-based urgency. Behind the scenes of this alignment, something remarkable occurs in your decision-making process. Ideas begin appearing in your awareness that seem to come from somewhere beyond your normal analytical thinking. These aren't random thoughts or wishful fantasies. They're specific, actionable impulses that feel both exciting and slightly challenging. They might involve reaching out to someone you haven't contacted in years, exploring a business opportunity you hadn't previously considered, or investing in education that seems perfectly timed for your current situation. The hidden truth about these inspired ideas is that they represent communication from your subconscious mind, which has been working behind the scenes to identify pathways that align with your programmed financial goals. Your subconscious processes millions of pieces of information daily, recognizing patterns and connections that your conscious mind might miss. When an idea suddenly occurs to you with unusual clarity or emotional resonance, it's often your internal guidance system saying, "Here's the next step on your path." The revelations come when you realize that every person who has achieved significant financial transformation can point to specific moments when they acted on ideas that seemed to come out of nowhere but proved to be pivotal decisions. The entrepreneur who suddenly felt compelled to attend a conference where they met their future business partner. The investor who had an inexplicable urge to research a particular market just before it exploded. The freelancer who decided to reach out to a potential client at exactly the right moment. The journey from internal programming to external results requires recognizing these moments and acting on them quickly, because inspired ideas have a natural expiration date. The impulse to make that phone call, send that email, or explore that opportunity feels strongest when it first appears, then gradually fades if you don't act on it promptly. Most people experience these moments regularly, but dismiss them as random thoughts or convince themselves to wait until conditions are more perfect. The impact of this choice, acting immediately on inspired ideas versus postponing them, literally determines whether you remain a dreamer or become an achiever. Dreamers receive the same internal guidance as achievers, but they hesitate, overanalyze, and find reasons to delay until the moment passes. Achievers have learned to recognize these impulses as valuable guidance and move on them quickly, even when the logic isn't immediately apparent. The transformation accelerates when you develop trust in this internal guidance system and begin acting on inspired impulses as a regular practice. Each time you follow through on an inspired idea, you strengthen the communication channel between your conscious and subconscious mind, making future guidance clearer and more frequent. Now, I want to explore how this trust in internal guidance naturally develops into what successful wealth builders call unwavering faith, the kind of unshakable conviction that makes financial abundance inevitable rather than hoped for. Write, "I trust my inner guidance" in the comments if you can identify recent moments when you received clear impulses to take action, but allowed fear or hesitation to override your intuition. This trust in your internal guidance system naturally evolves into something much more powerful and transformative, unwavering faith that operates as the invisible fuel powering every major financial breakthrough. This isn't the wishy-washy hope that most people mistake for faith, where they cross their fingers and wish for the best while secretly expecting disappointment. True wealth-building faith is burning certainty that doesn't extinguish even when external evidence seems to contradict your financial goals, even when other people tell you it's impossible, even when temporary setbacks make your dreams appear unrealistic. The cue. Transformation occurs when you understand that faith, in its most practical form, means acting as if your financial goals are already accomplished facts, even before you can see physical evidence of their manifestation. This requires a complete shift in how you approach daily decisions, conversations, and opportunities. Instead of saying, "If I ever make that much money," or "when I get lucky," you begin operating from the assumption that your prosperity is inevitable and your current circumstances are simply temporary stepping stones. Behind the scenes of this faith development, you begin training your mind to focus selectively on evidence that supports your financial success rather than evidence that contradicts it. Most people unconsciously collect proof that wealth is difficult, that success is rare, that ordinary people like them don't create extraordinary financial results. They read about economic downturns, focus on business failures, and surround themselves with conversations about how hard everything is becoming. The journey from doubt to unshakable faith requires deliberately seeking out proof that your financial goals are not only possible, but probable. You study stories of people who started from situations similar to yours and achieved what you're trying to create. You research market opportunities rather than market problems. You collect evidence of abundance rather than evidence of scarcity. This isn't about denying challenges or pretending difficulties don't exist. It's about training your mind to see possibilities and pathways rather than obstacles and limitations. The revelations come when you realize that your language patterns are constantly reinforcing either faith or doubt in your subconscious programming. Every time you say, "If this works out," or "I hope I can make it happen," you're programming uncertainty rather than certainty. The shift happens when you begin speaking in terms of "when this happens" and "because this will work," aligning your language with the faith you're building rather than the doubts you're trying to overcome. The impact of this language alignment extends far beyond just positive thinking. When you consistently speak about your financial goals as inevitable outcomes rather than distant possibilities, your subconscious mind begins organizing your behavior, awareness, and decision-making around that certainty. You start noticing different opportunities, making bolder choices, and taking actions that align with someone whose success is guaranteed rather than someone whose success is questionable. The hidden truth about faith development is that it's built through repeated experiences of emotional visualization, where you live so completely in the feeling of having already achieved your goal that your body and mind can't distinguish between the visualization and actual experience. When you consistently feel grateful for your financial abundance, proud of your business success, and peaceful about your financial security, even before these conditions exist externally, you're programming your subconscious with the emotional blueprint of wealth. Now, I want to explore how this unwavering faith naturally channels itself into what I call high-frequency emotional energy, the specific energetic state that makes you magnetic to money, opportunities, and the right people at exactly the right time. Right? Faith is building in the comments. If you can feel how shifting from hoping for success to expecting success might change your entire approach to wealth creation. This unwavering faith naturally channels itself into a high-frequency emotional energy that operates as a multiplier for every wealth-building action you take. Think of emotional energy as the fire that ignites everything you touch. Your conversations become more compelling, your presentations more persuasive, your networking more magnetic, and your opportunities more abundant. Without this energetic component, even the most sophisticated strategies feel sluggish and effortful, like trying to start a car with a nearly dead battery. The transformation becomes visible when you understand that people make buying decisions, partnership choices, and investment commitments based primarily on how they feel in your presence, rather than on logical analysis alone. High emotional energy is contagious in the most practical sense. When you're operating from genuine enthusiasm about your financial goals, passion for your work, and excitement about your future, other people naturally want to participate in that energy field by doing business with you, recommending you, or supporting your endeavors. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough, there's been someone who learned to maintain consistently high energy states, regardless of external circumstances. They didn't wait for good news to feel enthusiastic or for perfect conditions to express confidence. They understood that emotional energy must be generated internally and sustained through conscious practice, becoming a reliable source of attraction rather than a variable that depends on external validation. The hidden truth about money and energy is that wealth gravitates toward high-frequency emotional states while consistently avoiding desperation, neediness, and anxiety. Money, in its essence as a form of exchanged value, seeks out people who feel abundant, confident, and valuable rather than those who feel scarce, insecure, and desperate. This isn't mystical thinking. It's practical psychology that plays out in every business interaction, negotiation, and financial decision. The revelations come when you realize that joyful conviction produces completely different results than anxious striving. The person who approaches opportunities with genuine excitement and confidence about their ability to create value gets a dramatically different response than the person who approaches the same opportunities with fear, uncertainty, and desperate need for approval. The energy you bring to every financial interaction either opens doors or closes them, creates trust or suspicion, inspires cooperation or resistance. The journey from low-energy financial struggle to high-energy wealth attraction requires understanding that your emotional state is as important as your business strategy, possibly more so. You can have the perfect product, service, or investment opportunity, but if you're presenting it from a place of low energy, doubt, or desperation, people will sense that frequency and respond accordingly. Conversely, When you operate from authentic enthusiasm, genuine confidence, and passionate conviction, even average opportunities can produce extraordinary results. The impact of this energetic shift extends far beyond just feeling better about your financial prospects. High emotional energy actually changes your decision-making quality, your risk tolerance, your creativity, and your ability to recognize and act on opportunities that others might miss. When you're energetically aligned with wealth creation, you naturally think bigger, act bolder, and attract more abundant circumstances, because your entire system is operating at a frequency that matches prosperity rather than scarcity. Now, I want to explore how this high-frequency energy naturally expresses itself through decisive action, the kind of quick, confident movement that creates momentum and signals to the universe that you're ready to receive what you've been programming. Right, energy is rising in the comments if you can feel how maintaining high emotional energy might be the key to transforming every aspect of your financial experience. This high-frequency energy naturally expresses itself through decisive action that creates momentum and signals readiness to receive opportunities. The universe, or more practically speaking, the network of people and circumstances around you, responds to speed and decisiveness because these qualities demonstrate genuine commitment rather than casual interest. When you consistently act quickly on inspired ideas and opportunities, you develop a reputation as someone who follows through, which naturally attracts more opportunities, because people know their time won't be wasted. The transformation happens when you understand that hesitation and over-analysis often kill more opportunities than poor decisions do. Most people receive clear impulses about actions to take, reaching out to a potential client, exploring a business opportunity, investing in education, or making a strategic change. But they allow doubt and perfectionism to delay their response until the moment passes. The hidden truth is that taking imperfect action quickly usually produces better results than taking perfect action slowly, because the market, opportunities, and circumstances are constantly shifting. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough, there's been someone who made rapid decisions based on available information rather than waiting for complete certainty. They understood that opportunity often comes disguised as risk, timing, or incomplete information, and they developed the capacity to move forward despite uncertainty rather than because uncertainty had been eliminated. This doesn't mean acting recklessly, but rather developing the ability to assess situations quickly and commit to action while others are still analyzing and debating. The revelations come when you realize that quick action creates its own momentum and reveals information that's impossible to obtain through analysis alone. When you take immediate steps toward an opportunity, you gather real-world feedback about its viability, discover resources and connections you didn't know existed, and often find that the path forward becomes clearer through movement rather than meditation. The person who acts quickly learns faster, adapts more readily, and ultimately achieves results while others are still planning. The journey from indecision to decisive action requires cultivating what successful wealth builders recognize as an unlimited abundance mindset, the invisible engine that multiplies every result you create. This mindset operates on the fundamental belief that there's more than enough wealth, opportunity, and success available for everyone, which eliminates the scarcity-based thinking that causes people to hesitate, hoard, and compete destructively rather than collaborate constructively. The impact of abundance thinking on your financial results is profound because it changes how you approach every business interaction, investment decision, and growth opportunity. Instead of operating from fear that resources are limited and you might not get your share, you operate from confidence that value creation naturally leads to wealth creation, that helping others succeed creates conditions for your own success, and that the economy expands to accommodate everyone who contributes genuine value. When your mind operates from true abundance rather than manufactured scarcity, money flows more easily because you're not creating energetic resistance through fear, greed, or desperation. You make decisions from a place of strategic thinking rather than survival instincts. You build relationships based on mutual value creation rather than zero-sum competition. And you pursue opportunities with confidence rather than anxiety about whether you deserve success or can maintain it once achieved. The integration of all these elements, the precise mental programming, sustained emotional energy, decisive action, and unlimited abundance thinking, creates a complete system that transforms how you relate to money and opportunity at the deepest level. When these components work together consistently, financial growth stops being something you chase and becomes something that naturally gravitates toward you. If this conversation has shifted something inside you, if you can feel how these principles might be the missing pieces you've been searching for, then you're exactly where you need to be. The fact that you stayed with me through this entire exploration tells me you're serious about transformation, not just interested in quick fixes or surface-level motivation. This channel is dedicated to bringing you the kind of deep, practical insights that actually create lasting change in your financial reality. If you found value in what we've covered today, I'd love to have you subscribe so you don't miss future content that builds on these foundations. There's so much more to explore about how your mind creates your financial experience. Leave a comment saying, "This message was meant for me." If you made it all the way to the end, it helps me know this content is reaching the right people. And honestly, there's something powerful about declaring your readiness for transformation publicly. And if you felt that connection we built throughout this conversation, a like on the video lets me know we're moving in the right direction together. There's a video right here that takes these wealth-building principles even deeper, exploring the specific daily practices that turn everything we've discussed into automatic habits. Click and continue with me over there, because your financial transformation is just getting started.